Hello, this is Diana Laws, and this is my grandmother, Eva Moody, and we're here together on February the 26th, 2011, and my grandmother is going to share some stories with us about growing up and about the different things that she has experienced in her lifetime. So we'll start off with when she started school, and she used to walk to school with her brother Lester, and she's got some specific memories that she's going to share with us about that.
It never snows in Greenville, South Carolina, but it snowed deep enough that I couldn't follow. Being a 6-year-old, I couldn't walk in the snow, so I had to get behind Fred and walk in Fred's footprints going to school, and it's just a couple of blocks away. So we made that all right, and I don't remember anything about the school because my memory wasn't, that's too little. And we only stayed over there, maybe a few months after I started school before we moved over to Johnson City, where my daddy's daddy lived, and he was getting old, and he didn't have anybody to take care of him. So if we would come take care of him, he would give us his property, which he did, and we lived until I was grown and gone. Even Estelle was born there.
And where was that house at?
At number 110 Road.
And
in Johnson City.
What's 10 Row called now, so people that don't remember that?
West Main Street.
West Main Street. Okay.
It used to be Green Road because Grandpa lived there, and they built 10 new houses up through there, and for somebody to take care of them, that's what Grandpa was doing. So they called it Green Road to start with, and then they switched it to 10 Road because of the 10 houses. And it ran up behind the Soldiers Home ballpark, VA ballpark.
Was the ballpark there then, or did they put that in later?
I don't remember when they put it there, but it was always there, and I could remember after I got grown. Maybe 6 or 8. And that fence, the VA fence, used to stay tore down more than it's built up. And if it get built up, somebody'd tear a hole in it, and we'd go through that hole and go over in the VA cemetery and play. And it wasn't full then like it is.
Yeah, it's filling up a lot faster now.
One time we had a Veterans Day, and they had some kind of a holiday at the ballpark, and people from all over were invited. It was a pretty big decoration, and there was, due to lack of parking or something, they put a sty down in the corner of 10 Row and Sydney Street.
Now, what's that?
A sty is steps up across the fence and down. So they put that there, and people coming from down, like where Kiwanis Park is, they can park there and walk up that sty and back down.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Well, anybody else will know about a sty. And so anyhow, while we were there, everybody had on their best clothes, for the celebration. And you used to wear clothes made out of crepe, Sunday clothes was crepe, but when it got wet, it said, people were coming across the graveyard and their dresses were drying up.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody was running to the car, looking all drawn up.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, but that's the way the material was back then. And I guess that's about...
Did you ever go over into the soldiers' home other than to play in the cemetery? Did you go to see any of the men or anything?
I visited several of my family that was in the hospital over at different times. Uncle Swan was over there 2 or 3 different times. That's Mama's brother. And our other brother, Uncle Will, was over there. And Uncle Will died over there. And when I would go, and my daddy was over there, and when I'd go out to visit Uncle Swan or somebody, I was big enough to write then, and several of the men near him would ask me to write their letters.
Mhm.
So I was a very big little girl.
Mhm.
I was writing letters for the soldiers to go, they weren't soldiers then, they were veterans then, and they were wounded veterans. So I did my part in writing letters for them to mail home to their people because they couldn't write.
Now, were Uncle Swan and Uncle Will in any of the wars?
Yeah, they was in
What
the
were
First
they?
World War.
They were in World War One. And what wars was your daddy in? Where did he fight?
He was in the Spanish-American War, and he didn't fight. He was in Army of Occupation in Philippines. He was down there, and he had two brothers that were down there too, Uncle George and I don't remember Uncle Eb, and they married women down in the Philippines. And one of them, when they come back to Tennessee to live, they wanted to bring their children, and one of them brought, it said, put the children in a barrel and brought them back, the boat to cross over from Philippines to the States. So he brought his family home, the girls, his two girls, and he brought them in a barrel.
My.
And he went up to Washington to work and took them with him. And those girls turned out to be Army interpreters at Washington, D.C.
Wow.
because they could talk, Philippine. So that's what they had, their jobs was doing, was to interpret. But before the boys moved up to Washington, they went back to Newport to live with their daddy. So they took the girls and him, they went to Newport and lived a while, and then he took the girls and went to Washington to live. And they got new wives up there. One of them was named Eva Mae.
How funny.
That's how come I'm named Eva Mae.
Uh-huh.
Daddy had met her and thought she was a real lady.
Well, that's nice to be named after somebody that's what your daddy thought about him.
Yeah, I always liked that name.
It's pretty.
I named mine after
Yep, yours is Eva Estelle. Okay. I want to ask you one other question, and then we'll probably wrap it up because we're getting to be almost at the end of our session on our time. And that was, I believe one time you told me that you and Uncle Fred and Uncle Lester used to go over to the soldiers' home sometimes, and that the men would stop. You would go at mealtime at the mess hall, and they would give you fruit, maybe?
We didn't have much fruit. We couldn't afford it. And the VA would feed their soldiers really good on holidays, well, every day. And they had a special building over there. It's got the clock on it now. It was called the mess hall. And us children would go out there almost like trick or treat. We'd carry us a bag, and we couldn't go in the mess hall. But most of the soldiers didn't have teeth or somewhere. They would bring their fruit out that they couldn't eat, and they'd give it to us. So we'd get oranges and apples or whatever, bananas. They'd bring their fruit out at Christmas or Thanksgiving and give it to us kids out there. It was more than us. It was a whole lot of kids that would do that. And I guess that's the beginning of trick and treat.
And like what time period was that? Would that have been late in the 20s or in the 30s when you did that?
Well, let's see, I was born in 23, and I must have been, I'd have been 10 years old. It'd be about 33.
Okay.
I mean, to start with, of course, we went for years.
Okay, well, we appreciate you sharing those memories with us, and the next time we talk, I want you to talk about your dad and what he did for a living when he came to Johnson City, and what he did with your property and how he had his shop. And I've got a picture of his seal that I'll bring, and we'll show a picture of that also.
His what?
His seal, his paper that he put on him when he made him, his picture.
Oh, seal.
Yeah, and I've got one of those, and we'll look at that also. And
The broom handle
Uh-huh.
covers.
yep, so that's what we'll start talking about next time, and see what other kind of memories that come back for you to share with us. And we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again very soon.